Hey guys, I'm Kirk. We have Rugged Ridge's XOR Rear Bumper with rear tire carrier, and we're going to install it on this JK. For this installation, I'll be using a Crescent wrench, rubber mallet, 5mm Allen wrench, a 10, 13, 16, and 19mm open-end wrench, also a 3/4 socket set with a 16, 18, and extensions. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the very first step before installing the bumper is you need to install the lights that you selected to go in the bumper. We've decided to use these 2-inch cubes from Rugged Ridge. The beauty of installing these first is once you have these in, you won't be able to take these lights out while the bumper's installed, so it adds additional security as well. And then repeat that on the other side. All right, so this next item is our logo backing plate. On the front of the bumper, there's the logo cut in the center. This will go behind it. And if you choose, you can paint this a color, an accent color to match your Jeep. We've also seen other customers put LED strips in here too to illuminate that logo. Just an added feature. So the backing plate is attached with M6 hardware. So we have an M6 bolt here with a flat washer and locking washer. Just snug that up and then repeat that step on the other side. All right, before we lift the bumper and put it up to the Jeep, I want to discuss a few things with you first. The cross member where it mounts will mount with these M10 bolts, but it also includes a spacer plate. This spacer plate is used if you're not using the factory hitch. In the application that we're using, we are attaching with the hitch, so we won't be using this in our application. But again, if you're not using a hitch, you'll need to use that in place of the hitch to get the bumper placed away from the vehicle appropriately. So this nut plate will simply go behind the back of the bumper here. Then this will go in front of the cross member, and without the hitch, this will go there, and then these will thread through the cross member into that bolt plate. All right, so here we are with this factory hitch. We're going to reuse this in this application. We've already taken a cutoff wheel and cut these 2 nuts that are welded on from the factory. There is 2 different hitches that they use from Jeep that has those nuts in it and some don't. If you don't have a hitch, our Rugged Ridge hitch does not have those nuts welded on it. They're just simply holes just like what you see here. So this will sandwich the frame and get those holes aligned here, and then our bumper will slide up against that. All right, now we're going to install our L brackets into the frame rail. First, you want to make sure you get any dirt and debris cleaned out of the frame rails. And then this bracket simply installs inside the frame rail like this, and then our bumper plate, the bumper actually mounts to the face of that and will sandwich to the frame like so. Now to hold that in place, we're just going to put a piece of tape here just to keep it from sliding any further into the frame. There will be some adjustability, but that tape will allow it to stay there without pushing any further back. Repeat that on the other side. All right, now we're going to install the bumper. It's best to have a friend place this with you, and then what we've done is put tape against the body to protect it in case this bumper shifts. It'll help it from getting damaged or chipped. Now that we have the bumper in place, we're just going to simply align these holes into the frame and to that L bracket that we installed in the last step, and then install the M12 hardware. We're going to just simply thread this in hand tight for now, starting with the furthest back bolt. Now that I got this one in, I'm going to go to the other side and help my friend that's holding that side and thread that bolt in. All right, now that we've got that back bolt in, we're going to thread the front bolt in. And at this point, we're just going to hand tighten them, and then we'll get the cross member bolts in. All right, now we're going to install the bumper at the cross member. This is an aftermarket exhaust. With the factory exhaust, you're going to take your M10 bolt, the long bolt, and put it above the exhaust and then thread it through the hole. But with this exhaust, we're going to slide it in through here. And remember that it's going through this factory hitch If we weren't installing the factory hitch, then there would be the spacer plate, and then inside the bumper is our nut plate. So now I'm going to thread that into the nut plate, and it may take some adjustment and moving the bumper to get that to thread in, like so. So you're going to apply that to all 4 bolts. Now before we fully tighten these, we want to make some adjustments to the bumper and make sure it's level. All right, we've now made the adjustments, got the bumper level, so we're going to tighten, working our way from the inside out. All right, now we're going to tighten these mounts onto the side of the bumper. Now repeat that on the other side. All right, next we're going to install the tailgate plate. We've taken this area and cleaned it all up. You want to make sure you get this as free from dirt as possible to avoid any kind of scratches or anything to your paint. Next, it's going to use our M8 Allen heads through all these threaded holes, and it's going to use a flat washer and lock washer in each location. There's going to be one item that's going to have the rubber bumper, and that one's only going to use the M8 Allen head with a lock washer. And then that'll thread into this bottom lower hole. All right, and here's our tailgate plate going onto the body of the Jeep. This is that lower right rubber bumper location that we mentioned before. So when tightening this hardware, you don't want to over tighten these. These have nutserts inside the tailgate. So you just want to really kind of watch that spring lock washer. Once it compresses and it's snug, you want to stop right there. All right, the next step is to install our tire carrier, but before that, we're going to have to do a little bit of pre-installation. So we're going to grease these bearings, and to do these, you just need to really press the grease in to the sides and just watch it as it comes through each one of the rollers and really drive them in there nice. These bearings are actually really over-engineered for this application. These are wheel bearings that are used on a vehicle that are good for over 100,000 miles. Obviously, this is just going to swing out and hold your tire carrier, so no need for additional Zerk fittings to service this. This is going to be plenty enough. Over-engineered is better for you, and it makes a better product. All right, now that we have these grease, I want to take the larger 35mm bearing, place it into the bottom of the tire carrier, and take this rubber seal and place it in the bottom. What you want to do is just make sure you get that into an even fit by tapping around there and making sure it's flush. All right, now we're going to install the wheel carrier. We're placing it over the spindle. Remember that has that large 35mm bearing inside of it with the seal at the base of that. Now that we've slipped that over, we're going to take the smaller 25mm bearing, drop that in, rotate a little bit to get it to drop. There we go. And now the large washer goes on top of that bearing, and then the castle nut. So I'm going to lift on the bottom of that tire carrier to take the weight off of it and really just hand thread this nut as far as I need. And once that stops, just simply take a crescent wrench and tighten that one more quarter turn. And then make it to where we can see where the pin can slide into the hole. We're going to slide that through and bend those pins back. All right, next we're going to install the cap over this bearing. What I'm going to do is just simply put a rag here, swing this tire carrier all the way out and let it rest on the body so we can access this set screw throat hole here. But first the cap, we're going to put a little bit of silicone on top of this. With this silicone, it'll keep dirt and debris out of your bearing, keeping that clean, and it'll also give it a watertight seal. So you want to line that hole with that screw hole there. It's a tight fit, but that's what you want. All right, now the set screw goes into the cap. All right, and that totally seals that up. All right, now we're going to install half the heim joint to the tire carrier. We're going to take these high misalignment spacers, insert them into the heim, and then slide it between these two tabs. Next, we're going to take our M10 hardware with flat washer, feed it through the top, then flat washer, lock washer, and nut. And now we're ready to install the other half of the heim. Now we're going to tighten that M10 hardware. Just a snug so it doesn't bend those tabs, and have that free. All right, now we're installing the other half of the heim joint. This is all stainless steel. So anytime dealing with stainless steel, you always want to put a little bit of anti-seize on the threads. So just a little dabs there will do it. And we're going to engage probably at least a good solid 4 threads for now to 5 threads, and then spin that locking nut on into place. All right, now we're going to take the high misalignment spacers, insert those into the heim joint, and swing the tire carrier to the tailgate. All right, now we're going to take our M10 hardware, slide it through here, and just let this rest for now. We're going to test the tailgate, see how it closes, make sure there's enough preload on the tailgate. We may need to make some further adjustments here at that heim joint, and we can do that at that time. All right, now we're going to test the preload of the tire carrier to the tailgate. So what you want to have is just a little bit of bounce when you get that tailgate to close. See how there's a little bit of spring? That's that tire carrier contacting with that rubber bumper that we installed on the tailgate. So as you can see, the ease to close is there. If this is too tight and you have to force it, then you need to pull that, turn the heim joint out a couple threads, and test it again. Or if it just automatically closes without any force at all, then you need to undo your heim joint and tighten it. So this is right where you want it, where there's a little bit of spring, but it's still easy to close. All right, now we're going to tighten our heim joint that we've made our adjustments. We need a flat washer, lock washer on the bottom of it, 10mm nut. All right, next we're going to mount our tire mount to our tire carrier. You want to take a little bit of time and measure what size tire you're going to use, so the base of the tire rests inside this cutout, but have it as low as possible so you can get more visibility out your back window. We're running a 37, and it's going to go into the 4th hole to give us the maximum visibility as possible. Next, we're going to insert our M12 hardware with flat washer, and then place a flat washer on the backside, lock washer, and nut. And do that in all 4 locations. All right, next we're going to install the second half of our tire mount. It slides over what we just installed, and then hardware will go into 3 locations. Now what's unique about this is you have this much adjustability for your tire depth, for the offset of your tire. So if you have a deep offset tire, you're going to want that pushed all the way in. If you have more of an OE tire, you'll need to measure that and determine that before tightening this. So flat washer, lock washer, nut. All right, so now we've installed, this is the third M12 bolt with flat washer on the outside, and then on the inside a flat washer, lock washer, nut. Again, with these 3 pieces, it'll triangulate this and give it the most strength as possible. And now we'll just go ahead and fully tighten that. All right, that completes that. All right, the last function of this is we include a high lift jack mount. So you can include this or not, it's totally up to you. But it installs, this bracket just goes on top of your tire mount like so, with the 12mm hardware. So it's 12mm bolt, flat washer on the top, and then the inside will be flat washer, lock washer, and nut. All right, now we're going to install our high lift jack. As you notice, the nose of the jack is fitting inside a cutout of our tire carrier. And then we're going to use wing nut hardware to attach this to the mount. So we slide it with a wing nut hardware with a flat washer into the mount, small flat washer, rubber isolator, into the jack, and then a flat washer on the back side of the jack. There we go. And then that way you can just hand tighten this, and when you're out on the trailer, there's no specialty tools necessary to take it off. All right, and the last step is to install the D-rings that are included with the bumper. I'll just repeat that on the other side. All right, that completes the install. When you do this, you want to give yourself about an hour, hour and a half, and make sure you have a friend to help lift and do the heavy parts of it. If you have any questions or concerns, give us a call or see us online.